Hey everybody, TacticAngel here, back to talk a little bit more about World of Warships Legends news, in no particular order. First, Wargaming has announced that on Monday the premium ship Dunkerque will be in the store, which hopefully means that I'll be putting out a review sometime next week. I've kind of fallen into the midday Friday video habit, which is Eastern Central American time, and I think I'm going to continue that for my reviews, especially for ships that come out on Mondays. That will give me enough time to get a good representative game and give you guys an honest opinion of my thoughts on the ship by the weekend. But honestly, I have to give some props to Wargaming for this image because it's really useful and it imparts a whole bunch of information to you all at once. Unfortunately, I kind of feel like it makes me redundant, so hopefully I'll be able to add something to your understanding and appreciation of the premium ship even while they give you this beautiful image, and hopefully this is a tradition that continues. Finally, a buyer beware up front. If you do not care for the French flags tattooed all over the ship, there's no way to remove them, so keep that in mind when busting out your wallets. Moving right along, for the next week, applications are open for the Legends Supertest, which many of you know I was a part of. I will leave a link down in the description below to the form that you need to fill out if you are interested. If you do want to join the Supertest, do so because you enjoy the game, not because you expect specifically to be rewarded. And understand there is a non-disclosure agreement that goes along with your participation, which would be in your best interest to observe. For those of you unfamiliar with what the Supertest is, it is basically a test environment for future updates to World of Warships Legends that Wargaming uses to make sure that their updates aren't going to break anything. And now the third and fourth thing, kind of rolled together, is that there's an update for World of Warships Legends, the September update, which I want to talk about a little bit, and there was also a Q&A stream. I will be trying to incorporate some of the Q&A into my discussion here, but if you want to watch the entire stream, which is about 2 hours long, with Tikana and the Sailing Robin, I've left a link in the description. So anyway, first things first, I guess, break out your wine and baguettes because the French have arrived. Currently, you can grind out experience on French cruisers from Tier 1 to Tier 7, just like any other ship line in the game. Also, just like last campaign, you do have the opportunity to win French battleships from Tier 3 to Tier 6 in crates that you earn, more or less exactly how you did last campaign, or if you want to, you can certainly throw money at it. You have weekly Havoc missions where you can earn up to 400 renown per week, and Battle Triumphs where you can earn an additional 375 over the course of the campaign. In total, there are only 50 levels, each 25 renown each, so that means you're looking at about 1250 renown for the season. So this season only lasts 3 weeks, which is half of the entire update, I guess. But that means that you have the opportunity to earn up to 1,575 renown, which gives you a larger buffer than previous seasons where you kind of needed to get all of the points in order to get the reward at the end. Since the update is divided into 2 smaller campaigns, the normal price for Admiralty backing has been cut in half for this campaign only, I guess, from 2,500 doubloons to 1,250, which seems fair. The big prize, if you finish the free side of the campaign, is a Commander's Container and Universal Commendation. You can pick up additional stuff along the way if you want to purchase Admiralty backing. I'm going to put up a chart that not Cerberus, the World of Warships Legends Perpetual Do-Gooder, and Unpaid Technical Expert put together, which show the free rewards and the rewards you can get from actual Admiralty backing. All in all, my impression of this campaign is that it is fairly low stress compared to the Tirpitz. This campaign doesn't have the 150,000 damage challenge. Instead, it has a 130,000 damage challenge, which is still a pretty good game, but it's a lot more doable for a lot more people. My one complaint, I think, is a complaint a lot of people have, and it is that there are these capture these base missions, since half of the games are going to be capture the base. So this is a little bit better than having to do it in just Royal Navy destroyers. This time you can do it in American ships of any kind. That said, Both the Weekly Havoc and Battle Triumphs are single-file lines, requiring you to complete all of the lower-level challenges before moving up to the higher-level challenges. So, consider the amount of time and money you want to put into this before buying Admiralty backing. This one is probably one that is safer to kind of sit out if you're feeling like you've been played to death on the Tirpitz campaign. So within the campaign, you're going to earn French francs, which you can use to buy things in the Admiralty store. You can earn up to 30 francs per day through regular play, though I doubt you'll actually earn those 30 francs since you're going to have to do about 1.8 million damage every day in order to get it, but you'll also be earning more throughout the campaign. These can be spent in the Admiralty section of the store. Once again, first thing that I'm going for is the French Commander container that's in there, after which point I'll probably buy a ton of French crates. The French crates are the things that offer you the chance for flags, camos, credits, other rare items, and a chance to unlock those Tier 3 through Tier 6 French battleships. That said, if you want a few absolutely random Commander's containers, you can pick up as many as 3 at a relatively reasonable price in francs, as well as permanent camo for the Tier 5 Normandy battleship, if you consider camo on a battleship worth your time, as well as for the La Galissonière, the Tier 5 Tech Tree cruiser. I will briefly warn you that that cruiser does not have a plane, so if you're considering buying that camo before actually playing up to it, and if you're anything like me, you like your boat stocked with consumables like spotter aircraft and whiskey. If you have any leftover Deutschmarks from 2 campaigns ago, they have been removed from your account, and instead you've received 7,500 credits per Deutschmark. Any remaining taler that you have can be used in the shop to purchase stuff that you haven't already purchased with taler. I suspect something similar will happen at the end of this half campaign with taler, though if etymology was observed, they'd turn into dollars. Yes, taler is the root word of dollar, the name of the currency most widely known for the United States dollar, but also used in several other countries. But TacticAngel, there are French destroyers on the PC. Why don't they appear in our tech tree? I hear you well-articulated and especially informed viewers say. That's true, and in the Q&A on the live stream, they do say they're waiting to see how things shake out on the PC for the French destroyers before adding them into Legends. I actually think that they were just added into the PC version in the last couple of months, so probably good that they get balanced on PC before they get imported into our game. So if we're lucky, maybe we'll see them next year, but they're not on the roadmap, at least that they could say at this point. And as for the increased fire rate consumable, that also is on the wait and see list. Other Q&A items about the French: the Richelieu is the Tier 7 French battleship in the game. So people were asking, what about the Jean Bart? Well, just like at Gamescom, Wargaming did say that it would arrive at some point this year, but gave no indication about when that would be or how you would go about getting her. So stay tuned, I guess. The second half of this update is going to be dominated by a Halloween event, which is very festive, but which I have some pretty strongly mixed feelings about. It is labeled here as Wicked Waves, and in it you will be able to earn a Tier 3 premium battleship, the Nassau. The Nassau comes with a special Halloween camouflage, and with Admiralty backing, you can also earn a special commander who is an off-brand work of fiction known as Henry Hyde. I'll probably cover this a little more when the actual event starts out, but the battleship is great news for free-to-play players and paying customers alike. Henry Hyde is something that really honestly disappoints me, because when I saw the illustration, not only does he look like a cartoon character, he's situated next to Maximilian von Spee, a man who died for his country in World War I. Now, I'm not from Germany, as my well-intentioned struggle to pronounce German names correctly would indicate, but I do have a level of respect that I like to show all of the factions in the game, including the French military, which I guarantee is atypical. The reason for this is because games like this have actually helped teach me a certain amount of appreciation for all the brave men who fight for their countries, and numbered among those commanders in this game is Admiral Norman Scott, who is from my country. So he was also killed in combat, and though this game isn't a memorial erected in the honor of the fallen, it does have a certain theme that definitely seems to respect that. In fact, off the top of my head, I can think of 5 commanders that died in the line of duty who are represented in this game. So when I see Hyde placed next to Von Spee, I'm disappointed because maybe someday we'll see Captain Ricky the Mouse sitting next to Norman Scott, and I can imagine that would probably diminish the game for me. What's more is it's kind of unnecessary because, as some of you have pointed out, it would have been nice to see other famous commanders in the game instead. So if Hyde were to somehow revert to Hans Langsdorff at the end of the campaign, I'd be pretty pleased with that. But otherwise, I'd say this is probably a mistake that will ultimately hurt the brand. So take of that what you will. Hyde has essentially the base trait that Sims probably ought to have had, which increases your hit points by a percentage rather than an amount based on tier. I'm not particularly keen on him, and though I like the first year Halloween camouflage on PC because they all have kind of a lovely steampunk twist to them, you can always remove camo from premium ships if you don't like it. My number one takeaway from this is that a historic-only selection in the game menus, like on the PC, would be a nice addition, particularly if we start seeing more and more unhistoric skins starting to enter the game. I don't have any issues with the Halloween skins from year one. Personally, I rather like them, but several of the new skins on PC are pretty hard to look at. So based on previous Q&As and the recent stream, the Halloween event will be a player versus computer sort of scenario. I'm looking forward to that and some other goodies surrounding the campaign, just not the commander. Also in the update, you now have the ability to create a patch, and if you get murdered by someone, that will show up next to a little message that you got killed by so-and-so. Currently, these things sort of randomly drop in addition to the normal sort of loot that you can get from daily containers, but Wargaming did say that they would be looking into some other ways of maybe earning these special patches, so that's a nice little bit of customization. We did receive several balance changes. The big notes are that the Königsberg reload has been increased by a half second, which is probably fair. The Vanguard has received several increases to its maneuverability and overall gun performance, and the Kid has received a 15% credit boost to its earnings. And I can think of at least one person who's pretty happy with that. Finally, rounding out the news I want to report on the update. If you use any preset other than preset 3 and 4, then the overview cam that you use has gotten some additional functionality. You can now tilt up and down so you can actually see things further away from your boat instead of kind of getting a bird's eye view of it or 3/4 view of it. So there were some commander skill rebalances. I've put that up here. Generally, it looks like they're kind of balancing down the negatives on some of the abilities that have maybe too many negatives and not enough positives. And then, of course, last and certainly not least, you can now play the Bismarck, the Tier 7 German battleship to your heart's content. Obviously, you're going to have to grind up the German line just like any other line unless you got lucky and picked up a couple of battleships in last campaign. Once again, there is a link in the description if you want to read the full patch notes. There are several bug fixes and other things that you might find interesting in there. And then, of course, we're going to hit on a couple of the things that I haven't already talked about with the Q&A. Wargaming reiterated that ranked battles are coming at some point this year, and it is soon, TM. But no guarantee on what that will look like or when. Aircraft carriers are still being looked at for 2020, but once again, no promises that they'll actually be implemented. Same goes for British cruisers. One really big thing that was put out there was there will be some changes to the Commander Unlock system at some point, and that will probably be within the next 2 updates. So that would be probably either October or November. Tikana wasn't quite sure which one it would be in, but in either case, this is good news for those of you who have 1 or 2 commanders that are, let's just say at this point, statistically unlikely to pop out of a container. In any case, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you everybody for listening. I know I went on a soapbox there somewhere in the middle, so if you feel like weighing in, go ahead and do so down in the comments. I'll be happy to see the discussion, and I'll go ahead and see you guys on the next one.